So, first of all, what do we mean by integration? Uh, Basically, during this retreat, you have the energy that you've changed in yourselves, and the progress that you've made in the last 10 days. This talk is going to address how can you take these changes as you transition back into your regular environment and not revert back into previous patterns. Um, so this process here at the retreat, with the ayahuasca ceremonies and the various treatments, has been first of all to remove um, energies that you no longer need, and that's been done with the ayahuasca ceremonies itself, with the vomitivo, the purgative that we did, and then also with some of the other plant treatments. Like for example, the sauna was a detoxifying treatment, taking out energies that no longer serve you. And then, uh, in addition, most of you got some individual medicines for various ailments that you've had based on the consultations that we did. And that were also designed to correct any various problems that you came here with. And then towards the end of the treatment, the end of the retreat, we introduced some medicines to replace those darker energies with energies that are going to be more conducive or help you um, as you move forward from this retreat. And those were the protection bath, the love bath, um, and then also in ceremony itself, when Rona was talking about the spiritual crown that he wants to transmit to you guys, or the spiritual kushma, the robe that he mentioned in his talk, these are all energies that he has transmitted to you guys in the last two ceremonies. So starting last ceremony and then this ceremony also is going to uh, transfer some of his energy to you. And so there's been this change overall in, I guess you could say, in your energetic template. And now that you are, I guess we could say, like vibrating at a higher vibration, um, this talk is addressed to see how to let you know how you can take this high vibration into your old environment and without losing it. And a really appropriate metaphor that Carlos likes to use is when you came here, you were sort of like a fish taken out of your old environment and into this bowl of clean water, and we've given you like some drops into this bowl of clean water to help clean your body, clean your mind, and with these various plant remedies that we've had. And so now that the integration talk, it's important because you don't want to just take this fish and put it back into the old dirty water and let it sort of fight to maintain its health in there. Instead, we want to talk about how uh, we can we can be present about this old environment and not fall back um, into I guess the dirty environment and get sick again, right? um, and so there's various points to talk about on how to do that. Firstly, there is the physical consumption of food and drink, and things to avoid. So first of all, um, pork. Uh, the Shipibos consider pork meat to be the energy of it to be directly counter to the energy of the healing plants. So um, they avoid it completely. Like, Rono does not eat pork. Um, and if you want to maintain your new energy for as long as possible, it's wise to abstain from pork for a period of time. Uh, for this purpose, this is not such a long retreat, but still, it's a good idea not to eat pork for at least 30 days. Um, and it's interesting too about pork. It's not just the shitibos that talk about pork being a dirty meat, but also different traditions like Jewish tradition. The Muslims have the same ideas, and yeah, pork is just a meat that generally has a lot of parasites. We actually had a couple of retreats ago. We had a neurosurgeon here who did two surgeries on people removing parasites from their brains that came from pork. So yeah, it's a good idea to avoid that for as long as you can. Then we have uh, alcohol, and alcohol is it's about alcohol in excess, really. Um, we actually advise, or in the course book for the course that the Ayahuasca Foundation offers, mentions that like one beer to sort of flush the liver is not a bad idea after a retreat, but it's really just about the quantity of it. Um, so if you can just be mindful about the consumption of alcohol for the first, for a couple of days at least, um, that helps with the process of reintegration. Same thing with caffeine. You haven't had any caffeine for 10 days at least now, and maybe you stopped drinking caffeine before the retreat also, so that would extend that timeline. But this just means that your nervous system is going to be really sensitive to the effect of caffeine as you go back to the real world. Um, so if you do want to drink a coffee or something with caffeine, just take it lightly and see how your body reacts to it um, before you go back and drink 3 cups. Um, so and yeah, that's also for like at least 3 days. Just be careful with it. Um, yeah, one of the things about this retreat that make it a healing environment is actually just being here in the middle of the jungle, um, being surrounded 24/7 by the noises of the jungle, the sounds, and we don't even like realize that often. Um, but the nature that surrounds this area has incredible healing properties, and as you transition home, one way to take this experience with you is to connect with nature in the place where you're from. Um, and obviously, it's not going to be in the middle, most likely not in the middle of a national reserve like this one. But if you can find some way or some place to connect with nature for a couple of minutes a day, it can be very helpful in your reintegration. So for most of us, or for most of you, this might mean like a walk in the park, um, for like 10 minutes a day. But even something like a house plant that you connect with, or that you may want to get once you get home. For me, it was easy. I was going back because I had 2 dogs at home, and dogs make you go out for a walk whether you want to or not. But yeah, some way to connect with nature is very helpful. um, and on that note, like grounding grounding yourself in nature is also a very helpful tip. And by that I mean uh, like connecting yourself with the earth, like even walking barefoot in the soil is a way to do that. A lot of people don't realize that our bodies are designed to be naturally balanced by earth, and that happens whenever we connect the soles of our feet to the earth. just by walking barefoot on it. There's this natural electromagnetic exchange between our bodies uh, and the earth whenever that happens. And this practice is called earthing, and there's actually a book written about it. And these days you can buy shoes that automatically ground you to the vibration of earth in order to do that. Um, so here that automatically happens. For example, when you go swimming and your feet are in the mud, um, or you're walking to the water or from the water. But this may be something that you would like to uh, integrate, or also find a way to do that at home. So maybe you have a backyard where you can do that. Of course, if it's winter, it's it's a bit different. But uh, yeah, so grounding is another one. Um, Inevitably, as you transition back home, you will encounter, highs and lows. Like it's a part of being human, right? And it doesn't mean that you've lost all the progress that you've made here. Um, so if you can anticipate that this is part of what's going to happen, that's already the first step in not falling back and reverting into previous patterns. Um, One thing that really helped me as I've gone through integration in the past is practice of gratitude journaling. And because when you are in a low, if you can just identify things in life that you're grateful for, um, this can, and make a practice out of it. And even if it's just writing down a couple of things each day that you're grateful for in life, it can help pull you out, or it can switch your mental state from a state of focusing on the negative, um, into focusing on what's positive in your life. And it's such a simple technique, but it does have a pretty profound long-term effect. And and these days, it's so easy to have a gratitude journal. You can even just download that stuff on an app and type in a couple of things each day, and yeah, for me that's always helped a lot. Um, and then lastly, I just want to say, be kind to yourself, and don't be too harsh. Like I said earlier, there are gonna be highs and lows, and if you um, can just remember that, then you already have like sort of won half the battle. Um, Self care practices can be really helpful. Um, for example, uh, having like an evening routine where you just detach yourself from social media, from TV, from radio, and for example, just take a bath, or have like a de-stressing evening routine that includes meditation or a yoga nidra practice, for example. A yoga nidra is nidra means sleep, and it's basically a meditation where you can de-stress in the evening. This might be a really cool thing for you guys to look into. You can download um, some of these yoga nidra recordings. They're available all over the place, or you can find them on YouTube. And it's a great thing for a self care practice. Um, and something from Ayurveda as a self care practice is what we call a self abhyanga. And abhyanga is the oil massage that's done in Ayurveda, and and what it does is it calms the nervous system, and if you don't have to go out and get a massage from somebody else, every week, but if you can apply oil to your body, and then just rinse it off in the shower, it's a way to calm down the nervous system, to come into like a nice state of equilibrium mentally, and yeah, it's a nice self care, self love routine that you can do in the evening or the morning. Um, yeah.
So yeah, I just have a few things. Because we've been purging so much um, at both ends, it's good to kind of replenish a little bit if you can with like probiotics. So that can mean like capsules that you buy like in the health food store, or just like fermented foods. So like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, kefir. All those things are really good just to kind of replenish the gut flora. And also, yeah, meditation I feel is like really important. Um, Even if it's like, there's like a saying, they say like if you don't have 10 minutes a day to meditate, you should be meditating 20. But just to find some time throughout the day, it's usually best in the beginning of the day or in the evening, if it's like 10 minutes or 20 minutes, just to sit. And I mean, each person kind of has their own practice and rhythm with meditation, so whatever works best for you. But just to kind of like take that time, um, just to be in a quiet space, and just sit and breathe, focus on your breath, or to put on like meditative music, and just to have that time throughout the day. I find for myself that if I do keep a practice of like just 20 minutes a day, the rest of my day just seems to go so much smoother, and just more calm and less reactive to just things that come up throughout the day. There's also actually, uh, right now it's probably less. There's probably less centers that are open, but I'm sure they're starting to open now. And I think Carlos mentioned to me that they're probably open in the States, anyways. There's a meditation course called Vipassana, and Vipassana is like a 10-day silent meditation course, and it's all by donation. They have these centers all over the world, and yeah, it's a 10-day silent retreat where you're meditating for several hours per day. And for me, it was super amazing, and it can be like life changing for some people. And so I'm sure you guys have like a Vipassana center in your state, at least maybe a few hour drive away, but they have them all over the world. So it's called Vipassana. They say it's like the technique that the Buddha used to achieve his enlightenment. Um, so if anybody's interested, it's definitely worth checking out Vipassana. And yeah, just to like take some time to marinate in your own energy, like take some alone time. Of course, like you want to be with your families and friends and things like this, but it's also important to take some time to yourself just to be in your own energy, just to feel your own energy. Especially now, it's all filled with plant energy, and just to really take some time and just be in that energy by yourself. You don't have to, you can do whatever, but just to take those moments just to have to yourself can be really beneficial. And we talk a lot about food and things, and just wanted to talk just a little bit about like kind of mindful consumption in general. So it's the food, but it's also like the kind of media that we're absorbing. So it could be movies or magazines, the kind of things we listen to, the things that we watch, maybe even the people that we're around. All of these things have a tremendous effect on our well-being and how we're feeling and what kind of thoughts come into our mind. there's a saying, you know, you burp what you eat. So if you're eating like tomatoes, you're not going to burp mayonnaise. Because whatever you take in, that's going to be the fragrance that comes from you. And we get so busy, and it's hard to sometimes identify what it is that's causing us to feel a certain way. But if we can be mindful about, like, you know, what we're doing, what we're taking in on a daily basis, it can be really helpful to identify, you know, what areas we need to work on. And you know, you might find that, you know, this is a shorter retreat, but it feels like there's been a lot of healing and some big shifts. So you may find that when you go back home, that you know, certain people may not like resonate with you anymore that are in your life. For example, like if you were visiting the bars a lot and you had bar friends, and when you go back home, you're not really feeling like going to the bar anymore, those friends might just naturally drift out of your life. And more times than not, it's for the best, you know. But those things might just naturally happen. And which kind of leads me to another thing, which is like making really big decisions, you know. Again, it is a shorter retreat, but just to kind of wait on those big decisions if you have them now, thinking like, you know, when I get home, I'm gonna sell my house, or I'm gonna end my relationship, or I'm gonna quit my job immediately. Just to wait, you know, because if it's true now, if it's true, it's gonna be true in a month, you know, and it's better to take that month and to really like mull things over and then make that decision, rather than make it now and then, you know, a few weeks later be like, oh shit, like maybe I should have waited. So just to really like feel into those kinds of things, if you do have those kind of decisions like in the back of your mind, just to kind of let them marinate for a bit before you actually take action. And then just the last thing, which is pretty simple, but you know, to get back into your body, because ayahuasca, you know, can really put you in the ethereal realms, and it's good to get grounded. And like Mike said, with grounding and being on the earth, but any like physical exercise too, you know, going to the gym or going for a run or doing yoga or going for a walk, all those things to like get you back into your body, to bring you back into the here and the now, can be super beneficial after drinking ayahuasca. That's what I got.
So I'm hoping that I will see your faces again on a Zoom call sometime in the next couple weeks. Um, but I'm here, so I'll go over what I would mostly be talking to you about now, and then I'll check in with how that's going with you when we have our call, if we have our call. And so my perspective on those thought programs, you know, that a lot of what most of you, if not all of you, were working with and seeing maybe more, gaining more awareness about, and transforming during this time. To me, I look at those as memories. I think they are memories. And and so we refer to the memories that we have because ultimately our whole reality is our collection of memories. You know, if I ask you to describe reality, you're going to give me a set of memories. And those memories shaped your view and how you see yourself and how you see the world. But some of those memories are not beneficial. In fact, some of those memories are detrimental. And, right, I would say like a person that's in need of healing has an imbalance of their negative or detrimental memories to their positive or beneficial memories. And I'm hoping that this experience, these past 9 days, was a beneficial experience, and that you now have a set of beneficial memories that refer to this experience. So my technique for integration that I would be talking to you about later, but I'm talking to you about now, is to expand that set of memories, to bring up that set of positive memories to surpass the collection of negative memories that you might have. And so the technique that I've been working on to expand the positive is to continue intentionally creating new memories that refer to this retreat. And so there's a few ways to do that, and some of you clearly are doing that, and some of you, you know, took some of my advice in our preparation calls to do that by keeping a journal. Johnny's been doing it in a number of ways, and he's a great example. He's, you know, filming something. He's creating a work of art, and he's been writing songs, which we may hear one tonight, but we definitely heard one last time, and using a lot of different forms of what I want to call art. I want to use that word specifically because I think that when we all consider art, we think more about heart than we do about mind. Art is something that we don't necessarily associate with your mental formations. It's much more about the way you feel. And to me, that is really the source or the core of where we're at and who we are. So, if you are keeping a journal, then I would recommend that you look at that journal as a story, your story, as a literary work of art. And I would recommend that you develop that story, meaning that you make it a project with the goal of it being a complete literary work, something that would be worthy of publishing or something that would be worthy of sharing. And I would like that to be your goal, to complete the work of art and share it. And so if it is your journal, for example, the first step that I'd recommend would be to transcribe what you've been writing by hand into a computer or onto a tablet, but into some digital form. That will make it a lot easier to edit. And while you're doing that, you'll obviously need to read it. And so just the act of transcribing, which obviously isn't going to happen here at the retreat, it will happen at home, and it will be an activity, though, that connects you to the retreat and to those positive memories of your experiences here. And that will be a new memory. It will become the memory of you transcribing your journal into digital form. If someone said, "What did you do today?" you would remember, I transcribed my journal from the retreat I went on in Peru onto my computer so that I can edit it and work on it. And then I recommend reading it again with the purposeful intention to complete it. Most likely when you read your journal, and now when you've read it in transcribed form, you will remember some other details that haven't been written down. We don't write all of our memories down, but oftentimes when we read them, we remember a few more details. If it's in digital form, you can just click on in between two sentences and write a new sentence in between. And maybe there's some parts that you want to change the wording. You know, if it's simply correcting the grammar, or if you like to capture the feelings that you're having in a different way. All of that will constantly be creating new memories. Each time you edit it, there'll be a new memory that will be directly related to your experiences here. Having your journal, though, that you wrote will also be a great tool for you. So continue to work on that project, but also intentionally bring your journal with you when you know that there will be a memorable experience. So maybe you're going to visit with your loved ones. I mean, chances are most of you are going to first thing maybe go be with some of your family members or your partner, or at least visit friends. Bring your journal with you, and if not to read to a partner a particular section, just make time to read it yourself. And then that memory of what you did that day will include reading the journal about your retreat in Peru. And so you continue to expand. You're bringing these memories into the future or into the present with each intentional act. If you go for a hike like these guys mentioned, even if it's just a short walk in the park, bring your journal, stop on a bench, read a passage that talked about a particularly important transformation or change that you noticed, a particular aspect of your healing that you wrote down. And now your memory of what you did that day was that you went for a walk in the park and you read about the transformation that happened when you were in Peru. So you're continuing to expand these memories. Now let's say, as an example to show you where I'm going with this, that after you walk through the park, you go grocery shopping. The fact that you sat on the bench, even just for a few minutes, and read a particular section, it will bring your memories back to this experience. Now you're going to go to the supermarket. What are you going to get at the supermarket? Well, whatever you decide to get at the supermarket will now be influenced by this retreat because you read that passage in the park bench on your walk in the park. And so you can continue to use the journal as a tool, and then when you're at home, you can continue to work on that project. Now that's just the journaling. We record the ceremonies, and we record this talk. When you're at home and maybe there's a challenging time because shit happens, put the recording on. Choose the ceremony that seems like the best for you. Listen to the ceremony, and that will also connect you to the memories that you formed during your experiences here. And then that will be also a new memory. What did you do last night? I listened to one of the ceremony recordings of the ayahuasca retreat that I was in Peru. So each time you have these new memories, you're building up positive memories. And as you have more and more positive memories, your likelihood to refer to a positive memory increases. So shit happens, but what is your response? Well, of course, your response will be shaped by your memories, but if you are increasing with intention your positive memories, then you're increasing the likelihood that you will refer to a positive memory as response to a negative experience. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it. And by building up more positive memories, you increase your likelihood that those memories will influence your response. Writing songs. Brilliant. Every time you sing that song that you wrote about this experience or because of this experience, every time you sing that song, play that song, it will also refer to this. It will connect you back to the healing that you achieved on these during these days on this retreat. Find creative ways to do it. Maybe you've drawn some pictures, continue to work on those pictures. Look at all of those as works of art, as acts that you would like to share. And then let's get to that journal again where you've got it, you've finished it, you've been working on it maybe for months, and you've created dozens of memories about the work that you've been doing, and you got it to a point where you really enjoy and are satisfied with how it's written. That will be yours forever. It will always be a healing tool for you. You'll always be able to refer to it yourself, to remind yourself, this really did happen. I really did experience this. I really am the person that I described in this story. But now you can share that story. Maybe some of your healing is connected to another person. Oftentimes it is. Sometimes we know that we've had a conflict as a result of someone close to us in our lives, our partners, our parents, our friends, whoever that may be. Now you can decide if you want to. I think it would be a great idea. Share that story. Email it. Or bring it over in person. Or mail it by mail. And have them read it. If it has to do with them, then it will have meaning for them. And almost inevitably, they will thank you for sharing it. And your example of your own personal healing will contribute to their movement towards healing, if not an aspect of their healing directly. And then they'll thank you, which will send this additional gratitude for you. And that is a brilliant memory. The memory you have of when a loved one or a person you care for sent you gratitude and sent positive energy your way because of your experience in the jungle in Peru. And so now you continue to build and expand this memory set so that it starts to reach in to your daily life, it starts to reach in to your relationships, it starts to become your reference. When you have a memory and you have some crazy experience happen, you now the first thought that comes up for your response is a reference to this. I'm not that person anymore, or I'm different now, or I'm living my life the way I want to. All of the things that I hope that you've been feeling and achieving throughout this process, that starts to become your prevalent, your go-to memories, which shape and influence your responses as well as your interpretations of those experiences. When it comes to the relationships that you have, Nick was talking about, I think it was Nick, about how some people might not feel right in your interactions. Across the board, really, not everybody is going to be super open to you telling them that you've changed because you took some psychedelic drug in the jungle. That was a big lesson for me. I felt like I needed to preach. I needed to tell everyone I met about how magical this process is and how everybody can achieve healing. And some people did not want to hear that, and some people definitely thought I was crazy. So, I would really take the sharing with your friends, like talking when you're talking with them, step by step. It's different when you're going to share your story, as a work of art. If you share a song, if you share a painting, if you share a drawing, or you share your writing, because it's a work of art, it's always considered differently. But if you're just talking to a friend, then you might not want to spill all the details all at once. You kind of want to measure their response. And if they want more, then you'll know it's okay to go forward. But if they push back, then they might not need to hear some of the deeper details of it. But all of what I feel is so important is based on memory, and it's based on that concept of turning your memories into a work of art that motivates you to continue to work on it. And the work that you do in the creation of that art will increase the number of positive memories that you have, which will increase their likelihood of influencing your responses and interpretations to the experiences that you're having in the future. Now, getting back to the beginning with the fish and the fish tank, I think I said it, I think you responded, John, on the bus when I said, if a fish is sick, you don't treat the fish, you clean the tank. That's like the great obstacle, that's the great challenge of integration. It's cleaning the tank. because it's one thing to be able to maintain your health in you, but inevitably the majority of what has happened has been outside of you. It's been the influences that have happened, the experiences that have happened, the people that you're interacting with, the place that you live, all of these things. And so, there's work to be done. There's a tank that needs cleaning. And I don't just mean physically, like the people that you're hanging out with, some of those people are poisoning the tank. And the places that you're going, some of those places are tainting the water. And you want to be mindful of that. You want to be aware of what is actually good for you. And by building up those positive memories and by improving the way that you respond to your experiences, you'll have the motivation and the strength to make changes that might be more challenging to make. And that's what I got.
Do you guys have any questions about this process?
Well, without, not a question, but a thank you to you for this, if nothing else, right here, right now. So thank you very much for all your effort and in doing this.
Can I ask a quick question about friends that don't fit in with your new you? Um, how you guys have handled that situation, if you're prepared to share. I've got some dark friends that are great fun, but my fun days are over, and I still like the idea of seeing them, but I may not be able to see them. A bit like a drug addict seeing druggy friends, I guess. But putting the drug side of it, it's the outlook and mentality towards how I want to live my life. Have you guys got an experience that you're prepared to share regarding how to deal with that interaction when someone puts up resistance that makes you feel uncomfortable, or yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my first thought is, you got so much fun left in your life, man. It's not like fun is only the shit that's bad for you, man. There's a lot of fun in life that is good for you, first of all. But secondly, like, it almost happens naturally. If you're not going to the bar, then you're not going to see a set of friends. If you're not doing drugs, then you're not going to see a set of friends. But my best advice would be to control the environment. So, if a friend wants to meet you, then you decide where you're going to meet or what you're going to do when you meet. And through that, you can really establish a feeling. Like if your friend wants to meet at a bar, you counter and say, man, I'd love to meet you, but let's go for a walk, let's go for a hike instead. Or let's go to a coffee shop instead. Let's I'm going to counter with where I want to meet you, so that I have better control over the environment that we're in. And then if you meet for just by doing that, there will be an understanding that something has changed. And then when you meet them for a coffee, you can elaborate and say, yeah, man, I didn't want to go to the bar because I don't really want to be drinking anymore. And you don't have to lecture anybody, but right off the bat, it's like an easy way to go into the conversation about change. And, like if you go on a hike, I think that's brilliant because there's so many wonderful, like, diversions or distractions kind of from what they might be wondering or what they might want you to be, where you're like, hey, that tree is super cool, I never noticed that tree before, or like, because you will be looking at the world differently, you will be able to bring them into that newly found perspective more easily. So that would be my big advice. But honestly, some people, I pick up the phone and and talk to them for a few minutes, and then I say, man, I don't have time to talk right now, but maybe sometime we could go for a hike or something like that. And then that, whatever, I have the time to figure out if I actually want to follow through with that later. But sometimes it's just quite simple to just say that you just don't have the time.
Okay, thanks.
That's another aspect, actually, like the way that you communicate. If you're like working on your story, or for you, maybe even just like working on this film project, it's gonna help you. It's gonna help you to like put your thoughts together, your words together, so that when you do speak to someone, you've been like, you've been tinkering with the language of how to describe this for a while, so you're better at describing it. And that's another reason why I like want it to be something that your plan is to share it,
Mm.
because you're working on it not just for yourself, also because oftentimes if we do something only for ourselves, we're less motivated, but if we're doing it for the benefit of others, we tend to have more motivation. But you're also like working so that someone else will understand it, and that has that benefit of the the improvement of the language and the understanding of your explanation. So you become better at how to explain your experiences or the changes that have happened in you. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's for me. It's trying to find a way of telling someone I want to meet up and I want to keep in friendship and contact with you, but I don't want to do what you want to do without feeling guilt and shame and rejection portrayed to that person. So then I feel worse, and then succumb to their needs, and then I feel bad afterwards because I've just done what they wanted, not what I wanted.
Right.
But I love the idea of controlling the environment, and that's brilliant.
Right. Like to say like, oh man, I can't go out tonight, but why don't we meet up tomorrow for breakfast? Like
Yeah.
something simple like that, which doesn't, it's not even that weird. Some people are just busy, but you're not going out tonight because going out tonight means a whole set of negative influences.
Mm.
But when you say go out for breakfast, then that opens the door for a set of positive influences.
Mm.
But a lot of it will happen naturally, and there will be new friends, most likely, that will come into it to play that you can't imagine yet.
Mm.
But because you're meditating, or because you're doing yoga, or because you're going to a healthier environment, you'll meet those people that are also seeking out those same environments or taking part in those same activities for their betterment. And those are great influences. I know now, like, I mean, I'm like maybe not the best example, but I've been invited to like speak for meditation communities and for groups of people that are not necessarily associated with ayahuasca at all, but we're all associated with bettering our lives. And so once you start on the path of betterment, then you put yourself into that environment.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is there any condensed form of the vapor baths? In other words, I have a CPAP machine. I'd love to be able to pour some juice into my CPAP machine and breathe that stuff all night. I mean, I do that with tinctures of CBD already, but
Right? I mean, sure.
are there?
There's diffusers if you not use a CPAP machine. But yeah, like we use a diffuser in my house where you put just a couple drops of essential oil in.
No, I mean the good stuff over here. The real McCoy. The vapor baths.
Okay. Well,
Ain't nothing like that.
yeah, there is. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of components to it, of course. There's a set of plants here, but this isn't the only place on earth that has medicinal plants. The world is full of medicinal plants. Unfortunately, our cultures have almost entirely lost our knowledge of those medicinal plants. But eucalyptus is a fantastic plant. to do vapor baths with. It's a fantastic plant, a really powerful medicine. And eucalyptus is usually something that you can get pretty much anywhere. So you could easily do a vapor bath with eucalyptus and almost do it in the same. I mean, you don't have to get the plastic and make yourself a hood. You could just use a sheet, or a blanket or something. And it doesn't have to be a giant pot or that rack or anything. You could just have a chair and a pot that you put on the stove and get a real strong boil with eucalyptus and give yourself a vapor bath that way. I mean, with my daughter, sometimes we just turn the shower on super hot and let it steam up the bathroom and, kind of give her a vapor bath in that way too. But there's so many medicinal plants, like so many medicinal plants. Every plant pretty much has some medicinal value. And then, thankfully, I mean, not everybody has lost that. On your USB stick, you'll have a reading list, and there will be an author named Stephen Buhner, and he's just a guru of plant medicine.
How does cannabis fit in with that?
That's a great question, and it's definitely like a continuation of what I was just saying. It's we have a very particular point of view, which is very mechanistic, very materialistic. That's the science that we come from. And so our typical point of view is like a particular plant that's called medicinal. It has an active ingredient. It has a particle or a chemical, and that chemical like interacts with our chemistry in a particular way. Like that's a sum up of like our understanding from our mechanistic medical science point of view. But the point of view here is very different. And my first teacher was a great example of that. There's a component of that for sure, of course. It's not a denial of that, but the emphasis is the relationship that you have. And the relationship that you have with a plant or the relationship that you have with a medicine, that is the most important component. And that's why some medicines don't work for some people. And some medicines do work for some people. And I wish there was more awareness of that in modern science or in Western medical world. But with cannabis, it's pretty like prevalent or pretty like in your face, because we all know somebody that smokes weed like a drug. Their relationship with it isn't beneficial. It's not a healthy relationship. It's the same exact weed. You could even smoke the weed with them or use the CBD oil like with them. But the relationship that they have is different than the relationship you have. And the same with alcohol too. I mean, that's a big one, And, how many people in the United States are addicted to prescription medication? But some people are taking that exact same drug, that exact same prescription, and it's beneficial for them because they look at it, the way they relate to it is still within the realm of medicine. And some people, exact same medicine, exact same chemistry, they are getting high off of it. They're escaping their world. They're doing detriment to themselves. And that's another great example. Like, so when it comes to cannabis, like, you just, or anything, you want to check in with your relationship. You want to, become as aware as possible why you're taking it. What is the real reason I'm using this? And I would say that most people, like, form good relationships. But, obviously sometimes those relationships get bad. And, for me, like, and weed or cannabis is like another big one that we've all seen. It's medicinal. Like, the justification of a bad relationship because of our mechanistic point of view. It's okay that I take 25 bong hits a day, it's a medicinal plant. You know, that's not, that's not, you know it's not the truth, but it's a great excuse. And we hear it a lot, especially with cannabis, probably the number one with cannabis, you know. Because cannabis can ruin a life too, but the plant doesn't ruin your life. Your relationship to the plant ruins your life. So, you know, as long as you know that you've got a good relationship with it. I say that with experience because I did smoke 25 bong hits a day, and I did like pretend to justify it. And even when I came here, I was still smoking weed, and I was justifying it because when I spoke to the curandero, he was like, "No, it's a medicinal plant," and I was like, "Haha, medicinal plant! Fuck yeah, dude! I'm gonna smoke this every day." And you know that's not what he meant.
Just out of curiosity, how often do you smoke weed?
None. But I did smoke when I was with my brother Jim, celebrating my brother Mike's birthday. I mean, that's what?
Jim's fault.
That's another part of it. You know, like when you have a good relationship, then you can do it. You know, I didn't like leave that party, which was actually like 4 days long in Vegas, and go out and get some weed and keep smoking. It was an isolated thing. My brother likes to smoke weed, and you know, it would have been weird or it would have been wrong for me to not, because I wanted the connection with my family that was going to be a very special memory for me. I also drank like a fish. I don't drink, but you know, there is a time and a place to do something that technically you might say isn't healthy, but when you look at it from the perspective of relationship, it does bring more benefit than detriment. But you have to be honest about it. You know, you can't play games with yourself. That's pointless. The way that Don Rono looks, or the Shipibo, or the indigenous people here look at plants, they don't look at chemistry. They look at plants as people. They have personalities. You know, they relate to those personalities and those people, the spirits of those plants, and they become friends with those plant spirits. And and that's what brings them the power. And I said it was a good example with my first teacher. My first teacher only used 5 plants. He didn't have some large repertoire of plant treatments. He used 5 plants. He treated everything with 5 plants. And he healed cancer, and he healed AIDS, and he healed diabetes, and he healed everything with the same 5 plants. And it wasn't about the chemistry of the plants. It was everything about his faith in the relationship he had with those plants. And he would imbibe that, you know, like somehow you would gain that faith. When you see someone with such faith, you can't help but start to feel like, oh man, this guy knows what he's doing, you know? And then you start to have that faith, and so then you start to relate. You start to relate to the plant the same way that is being expressed by the person who's using it. And that to me is a lot of what happens here. Some of the plants that we use, I mean, some of the plants that are in your vapor bath, I guess it's okay to say it now, like, if you look them up, they're fucking poisonous. You know, they're like toxic. Like, you should never, like, don't go anywhere near those plants. One of them is fucking exported as a pesticide. You know, those are like not good plants from a chemical perspective. But when you have a different relationship with those plants, it changes everything. John, you were saying like you drink turpentine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you looked up turpentine, probably wouldn't say drink some of this.
No, but you know what it also wouldn't say? That up until 1899, it was on the Merck formula.
Well, Heroin might have too. But yes, it's all about the relationship. Heroin was a medicine. It was prescribed by doctors. Cocaine was a medicine. It was prescribed by doctors. And now we're kind of going backwards in a cool way where, you know, we're seeing drugs come out of being illegal into the realm of medicine again. But so much of that was determined by, you know, MDMA was a highly prescribed medication for family therapists, couples therapy. And then people started getting high and started like using it non-medicinally, and then they prohibited it. And we'll see what happens now when it comes back. Tobacco, fuck, that's a huge example. You know, like, isn't smoking bad for you? Yeah, I mean, if you look it up, it's gotta be bad for you. It causes lung cancer, right? But it was the first medicine. It's still one of the most important medicines in the Shipibo tradition. You see these guys puffing their pipes up here, you know? But their relationship is totally different with it. And when I leave Peru, I don't bring mapachos back with me. I don't smoke at all. Because I'm not in the right environment. If I smoked there, it would be different. It wouldn't make me feel good. There's like a right time and a right place to do something and have it be beneficial. And you just need to be aware of it. Any other questions? Everybody happy this is the last ceremony? Anybody wish that they could stay another week? No?
No.